Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Qala Allah ta'ala fi Qur'anil Kareem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. وعن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان رواه مسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We all know this beautiful surah, short and sweet, Suratul Asr. Many of us memorize this surah when we are young. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by time, wal asr. The Mufassirun, some of them said that this is time. Wal asr means the time itself. Some of them said this is the specific time, which is the time of Salatul Asr, before Maghrib. That time is called Asr as well. So it could mean two different things. Wal Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by time. Innal insana lafi khusr. Innal insan, verily, indeed, inna. Insha'Allah ta'ala, when we get to that point, in Jumla Ismiya, in Jumlatul Ismiya, how we create emphasis, how emphasis is created in the Arabic language. We'll see how inna does that. For now, it's translated as indeed or verily. Innal insana lafi khusr. Verily, al-insan, or the entire of humanity, is in loss, is in loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except for those who believe. Those who believe, آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and do righteous deeds, righteous good deeds. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and recommend one another, encourage one another with truth. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and with patience. The meaning of Suratul Asr, or the translation, is clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by time and says that mankind is in loss. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places an exception for those people who do the following. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, except those who believe, those who have iman, those who believe. And iman, you cannot have iman without ilm. You cannot have iman without ilm. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah has a book in Sahih al-Bukhari, Kitabul Ilm, the book of knowledge. He has a chapter by the name of Babul Ilmi Qabla al-Qawli wal-Amal. It says that the chapter Bab al-Ilmu Qabla al-Qawl, knowledge precedes, knowledge comes before speech, wal-amal, and actions. So knowledge precedes speech and action. In order to have iman, if a person has to have iman, that iman cannot be attained by seeking knowledge. So knowledge is, iman is based upon knowledge. And after we believe, after we come into the category of amanu, then wa'amil salihat, then righteous good deeds. They are also based upon knowledge. So iman and amal are based upon ilm. Okay? وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And then once we seek knowledge, we implement the knowledge that we sought. What we are supposed to do? وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. We encourage or recommend the truth. We have to spread the truth, give da'wah to the truth, call people towards the truth, and call people towards patience. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. One of the meaning of this is also that you need to have sabr in all these three things. The lughawi or the linguistic meaning of sabr is as-sabru huwal habsun nafs, which means to restrain our soul, which means as-sabr means to your soul wants to do something, but then you restrain your soul and push away. That comes in all the three things: in seeking knowledge, in acting upon good deeds, and also in da'wah. Usually it's emphasized in the field of da'wah, when you call people towards the truth, when you call people towards good. So you have to go through a lot of hardships. But sabr also comes in illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. For example, your soul wants to sleep. Your soul wants to sleep during Fajr, but you restrain your soul, you push your blanket away, you disturb your sleep, and you get from sleep. Why? Because you want to do Amalu Salihat. You have to pray Salatul Fajr. You have to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you restrain your soul and you push the temptation of sleep, and you get and make wudu, and then you stand up before Allah. So ila alladhina wa amilu salihat. So this is where you need sabr. Similarly, in the case of amanu or seeking knowledge, because you cannot have iman unless you have knowledge about the iman. So you have driven so long to get to this place, and you have come, so you restrained your soul. You could have been playing or maybe sleeping or doing any other things, whatever you do, but you forced yourself and you came to this place so that you can seek knowledge of the Arabic language, so that you can seek knowledge of the Quran and Hadith. So this is where you exercised patience. You restrained yourself, right? So sabr is in seeking knowledge, having iman. Sabr is in doing good deeds, and also sabr is in when you call towards the truth, when you give da'wah in the field of da'wah, when you call people to the truth, you will have problems, you will have challenges. So that is وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that entire humanity, mankind is in loss unless we do all these things, right? So the question to ask ourselves is, are we among those people who exercise these four things or not? Also, one thing I would like to talk about here is regarding al-ilmu qabla al-qawli wal-amal. As I said, that seeking speech and action, that's not speech and action, knowledge precedes those things, right? Knowledge comes before speech and action. What is knowledge? Knowledge is nothing but قال الله وقال الرسول sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Knowledge is قال الله وقال الرسول. Knowledge is Allah said, the messenger said, right? That is knowledge. For example, because nowadays we have some people who try to give da'wah, who try to spread the deen, but they don't have knowledge. They try to go and call people towards Allah without knowledge, and this is something not good, because you know the consequences of that will be you yourself don't know and you will confuse the people. So what we say is, first seek knowledge and then implement that knowledge and then go and call people towards Allah. Now it does not mean that you have to become an alim to give da'wah. It means that you spread knowledge, what you know. If you know about a specific matter in the deen along with the evidences, that is the knowledge which you can spread. For example, if there's a person who does not pray, or if there's a person who is involved in maybe listening to music or hanging out with girls or something like that, and you want to advise him that whatever you are doing is not permissible in the deen. So what will you say? You cannot just go to him, that person, and say, you know what, whatever you are doing is haram, you cannot do that. He will ask why. And if you don't know why, if you yourself don't know why, no, because you know it's in the Quran. Yeah, where it is in the Quran? You must know the ayah or the hadith so that you can convey that message. So that is where knowledge comes. If the person were to say, mind your own business, this is between me and Allah, you know, religion is something personal, you cannot really comment on that. So what would you reply to that person? The reply that we can give, there are many ayat and ahadith. I am just giving a few, like in the Quran, in Surat Al Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about those people who enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil. وَلْتَكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So you can say from this ayah that in the deen we have something called enjoining good and forbidding evil, and what I am doing you, what I am stopping you, this is the evil that you are doing. This is the evidence that I am supposed to do. It is my business to stop you from evil. If he says mind your own business, then you can say this is my business. Because if I don't stop, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask me that you had the knowledge but you did not convey. Other evidence, I just said one of the ayah, but there are many in the Quran from the hadith. The hadith that we started today's class, An Abi Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, narrated by, this hadith is from the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu. He said, Sami'tu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I heard the Prophet, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, not the Prophet. The muhaddithin were very careful even in the wording, even though it refers to the same person. But when the hadith says Rasulullah, should say Rasulullah. So, Sami'tu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, Yaqul, Man ra'a minkum munkaran. Man ra'a minkum munkaran. When any of you, minkum munkaran, see an evil. Man ra'a means seeing. Man ra'a minkum munkaran. When any of you sees something evil, then what you are supposed to do? Fal yughayyirhu biyadihi. Then stop it with your hand. Stop it with your hand if you are able to. If you are someone in authority, if you are at that position, if you are the leader of your household, or if you're the leader of wherever the place you are, stop it with your hand. Okay? فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. If you cannot do that, فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. Then he should stop it with his tongue. Lisan, with his tongue. If he does not have the ability to stop it with his hand, then that person should stop with his tongue. Okay? Then if even that is not possible due to the circumstances, or like for example, if you are invited to a place and you know that you are not someone in authority, nobody will listen to you, then you cannot stop it with your tongue. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ. Then stop it in your heart, like feel that this thing which is happening is wrong in your heart, right? And وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. That is the weakest of Iman. The ulama have commented and said that if you are feeling something evil, like if you see something evil and you are feeling bad about it, then you are supposed to immediately leave the place. You cannot stay there, because it goes against the, you are seeing something evil and you have the ability to leave the place, but you are still sitting and you are feeling bad. It doesn't work that way. And that is the weakest of faith. And this hadith is in Muslim, Rawahul Muslim. So this hadith, if you know this hadith, if you know the ayah that I said, then this is an example of how you can stop people from evil. And if they were to ask you or if they were to question that, then you can give the knowledge that you have. قال الله وقال الله وقال الرسول. Right? You can say, Allah said, the messenger said. And you have done the job. Until now, we have studied I'rab, we have studied jins, We started our classes by saying that there are 4 things that a person needs to know in order for you to use an ism in a sentence. If you want to use an ism in a sentence, there are 4 things that you need to know, right? Excuse me, what were those 4 things? Jins, adad, usat, and i'rab. So we looked at what i'rab is. We know the 3 different statuses, right? The 3 different conditions in which an ism can exist. We know the concept, we know its definition. Then we looked into jins. In jins, we said that it can be mudhakkar or muannath, and what are the rules for muannath, and if those rules are not met, then it would mean that it is a mudhakkar. At this point, do you feel this is getting very complicated or very difficult?
It's just, yeah, too much information.
Too much information, right? That's a good point. And like as a teacher, my job is to relay the concepts, explain the concepts. But your job as students is to practice as much as you can and try to revise. Revision and practice makes those concepts come into your head, and when you practice more, then you come at a point that like for example, if you are just sitting in your free time and doing nothing, you can think of a word and try to think if it's mudhakkar or muannas, and try to, or maybe if when you are reading the Quran, you can ponder over the Quran and try to, from what you know until now, you don't need to go into what you don't know, but from what you know, alhamdulillah, you can try to revise and practice those concepts, so it will become clearer. Good news for today's topic is among the most easiest topics in the Arabic language, so it's a bit of a relief after going through those kind of difficult things. Today's topic, as I said, is one of the most easiest. So we looked into Arab, we looked into jins. Today we look into adat. Okay, so we look into adat. Adat, number or quantity, said that there are three different categories, right? In English and Urdu, there are just 2 of them, 2 categories of adat, singular, plural. Wahid jama in Urdu. In Arabic, they are wahid, muthanna, jama, right? So this muthanna is something new to us, right? Because muthanna, we said this is anything which is 2, right? Not more than 2, not less than 2. So anything which is 2 is muthanna, right? So we'll study muthanna today. Today's topic is Musanna. There is a formula that we'll have to know in order for us to convert an ism from wahid to Musanna. It's a very simple formula. We look into the formula. The process for converting an ism from wahid to Musanna is called Tathniya. It's called Tathniya. Okay. If you don't remember that, no problem, but just wanted to mention that the process is called Tathniya, converting an ism or making an ism from turning an ism from wahid to Muthanna. Qalamun, kitabun. Usually, rafa is the default i'rab. So if you want to write an ism, you can write it with a rafa, right? That rafa or raf, that is the default i'rab of an ism. Qalamun and kitab. You want to convert these 2 into musanna from wahid. This is the wahid ism. For qalamun, you know what is a qalam, pen, and kitabun is a book. Let's look at the formula. The formula to convert a wahid ism from convert a wahid ism into musanna is to remove the whatever haraka is there on the last letter, right? So if you have, this is in raf, right? But if it were in nasb or jar, it would be qalaman qalamin, right? So you remove the haraka, whatever the haraka is there, right? You remove it and you replace that with a fatha, then you add alif and noon, and the noon should have a kasra. Kasra. Qalam, alif and noon, add it, noon with a kasra, qalamani. Kitab, what would be the musanna for kitab? Kitabani. Qalam, qalamun, qalamani, kitabun, kitabani. Babun, babani. Babun, babani. Baitun. Baitun would be baitani, right? Let's take a muannath word. What is the word? Mirwahatun. So what would be same formula even for muannath? Mirwahatani. Now there is an interesting thing over here. So this ta al-marbuta which is at the end, now this only comes at the end, right? So if it's coming in between, it won't be a ta marbuta, rather it will be a regular ta, right? So mirwahatani. Sayyaratun tani, right? So what is the difference in the meaning? 1 and 2. Babun, 1 door. Babani, 2 doors. Baitun, 1 house. Baitani, 2 houses, right? Mirwahatun, fan. Mirwahatani, 2 fans. Qalamun, 1 pen. Qalamani, 2 pens, right? Any difficulty? Very simple. Just have to remove the last haraka, whatever is there, and replace it with a fatha, add an alif and noon with a kasra. right? So you can go ahead and make whatever asma that we saw earlier, you can go ahead and make musanna for all of them with the same formula, right? Question. We know the i'rab of we know the three i'rabs, rafa, nasb and jar for these words. Wahid, qalamun, kitabun, babun, baytun, mirwahatun. So qalamun, qalaman, qalamin. Kitabun, kitaban, kitabin. Mirwahatun, mirwahatan, mirwahatin. Baytun, baytan, baytin. Babun, baban, babin. Right? What about musanna? What about musanna? No. Okay. So this formula that we saw was for rafa. Okay. The only change. Now the good news over here is for nasb and jar, it is the same. They look the same, right? Like ghair munsarif. You know what ghair munsarif, nasb and jar, they have the same. So the context will show you whether it is in nasb or jar. So this formula was for rafa, right? If you want to write a jar, it's a very simple, very easy change that you have to make. Remove the alif, replace it with a ya. Remove the alif and replace it with a so what would be the final? Everything remains the same. No. We said that the fatha will remain too. Khalamaini. Right? The fatha does not change. You are just changing replacing the alif with a ya, right? So the nasb and jar of qalaman now, qalaman or qalamin will be qalamaini, right? So what you can do over here is so in nasb we all know that there will be an alif, right? We all know that there will be an alif. So what we'll have to remove this and also this, right? The extra alif that we put in nasb as the rule, we remove that and we remove this and then we add a fatha. So from qalaman, it will be qalamaini. Kitaban, kitabaini. Baitan, baitaini. Mirwahatan, mirwahataini. And let's say musliman, two Muslims. Muslimaini, right? So the nasb and jar. Now, once you are given an ism, what all you know until now? Just think about this. Once you have an ism, you have a wahid ism with you. You know how to identify whether it is a muzakkar or muannas. You know the three i'rabs of that wahid ism. Now you know how to convert that into musanna, and then you know the three i'rabs of musanna, right? So for a very important thing to note here, and which many people get confused with this, is the moment you see a haraka, you try to tell the i'rab through looking at the haraka. But in musanna and even in jama, which will come later, you cannot tell the i'rab by looking at the haraka, because over here the haraka is, what is the haraka at the end? It is a kasra, right? So kasra, let's say it was khalamani, still it is a kasra. So you don't recognize the i'rab from the haraka. You recognize the i'rab from the sound. If there is a ani sound at the end, qalamani, babani, muslimani, kafirani, munafiqani, baitani, mirwahatani, right? If there is an ani sound, then it is a rafa. If there is a any sound, it is a nasb or jar for musanna, right? Qalamaini, babaini, baitaini, mirwahataini, kitab baini, right? Whatever. So the thing which I'm telling, which I'm trying to explain, which many people usually mess up, is don't try to recognize the i'rab from just the haraka at the end. Rather, look at the sound. If it is ending with an alif and noon has a kasra, then it is a musanna in rafa. If it is ending with a ya and a noon, and the noon has a kasra, then it is a musanna in nasb and jar. So ani rafa, aini nasb and jar, right? For musanna. What about for wahid? It will be the same, right? For wahid, tanween, like for munsarif, tanween with dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain, two dhammas. Now, at this point you can understand why we say dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain, right? Fathatain,
Yeah, true.
two, right? So we have a word in Arabic for two. Now, if you translate, you will have to add to TWO2 in English, right? But in Arabic, we have a word. So that word automatically refers. Dhammatain means two dhammas. Fathatain, two fathas. Kasratain, two kasras. So for wahid ism, it will be dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain. Right? For musanna, it will be ani for rafa, aini. So try to identify from the sound. Any questions until now? Any doubts? Any questions?
So for the sounds that you mentioned, ani, and any sounds for the Rafa and this was for Musanna.
Yeah. Only for musanna, not for wahid, not for jama.
Oh.
Right? So you know the process for converting a wahid to musanna in all the three i'rabs, right? We look at some examples as a side homework. Just go home and look at the ayat of Surah Ar-Rahman. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. It ends with a ani, right? But because we stop, we don't say the kasra. We just say tukadhiban, but it's tukadhibani. So tukadhibani is referring to men and jinn, both groups. That's why two, referring to the two groups, right? Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-insi, like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the entire Surah Ar-Rahman. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Who, the person who fears standing in front of his Lord, right? What will he get? وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. What will he get? Two jannas, right? The person, I don't know about that. We cannot say. We'll have to look into the tafsir. But jannatani. Waliman khafa maqama rabbihi. The person who fears, like iman, like is used for that. Whoever fears standing in front of his Lord, he will have jannatani, right? And there are different mudham, matani, right? So a good exercise would be to go through Surah Ar-Rahman. So if I give you a word, can you convert it into a musanna, right? Muslimun, Muslimani, and the nasbanja, Muslimaini. Kafirun, Kafiraini. Mu'minun, Mu'minaini, right? Easy. We look at a hadith. What is this?
Kalimatun.
Kalimatun, right? What would be the musanna?
Kalimatani.
Kalima tani. Let's take another word. What is this? Khafifun. Khafifun. Khafifun in Arabic means something which is light, right? Khafifun. What would be the female of khafifun? Khafifatun, right? So from khafifun we have khafifatun. You know how to convert a wahid muzakkar ism into a muannas ism, right? So from khafifun it is khafifatun, right? Let's take another word. Sakhil. Sakhil means something which is heavy. Heavy. Sakhil. So what would be the female for sakhil? Sakhilatun. Kalimatun, khafifatun, sakhilatun. One more word. Habib. Habib means beloved, right? We know this. What would be the female for Habib? Habibatun. Kalimatun, khafifatun, sakhilatun, habibatun. What would be the musanna for khafifatun? Sakhilatun, what? Habibatun, kalimatani, khafifatani, sakhilatani, habibatani. Right? Do you know the hadith? Let's look the hadith. The hadith says, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. We'll write that down. Yeah. What is the hadith? عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم رواه البخاري. This hadith is in Bukhari, in the hadith of Abu Huraira. Is this do you see it how easy it is now to, I think you can just memorize the hadith by reading just once and you know the meaning too. So what would be the translation if I were to ask you to translate it?
Kalimatani, 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
Khafifatani, something which is light. 2 words, something which is light.
Mm-hmm.
Light on the tongue. Alal insani.
Alal lisani. Lisan, tongue.
Lisan on the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Thaqilatani.
Mm-hmm.
Habibatani and beloved to Ar-Rahman.
Mm-hmm. Now you can see that there is no R, but it's implied. And also at this point you may not understand why it is al-lisani, because these are not two, right? Al-lisani, al-mizani, al-rahmani. Sorry, al-mizan is two, right? Both of them are one, right? But there is a there is this ani sound, right? Ala lisani. Okay, so it's just one tongue, but still there is an ani sound. So at this point you may not understand why that sound is coming, right? And also in ar-rahmani there is an ani sound, but it's not two, right? So at this point you may not understand that why the ani sound comes but it is two, but you can understand these, why these are two. The simple reason is because of this huruf al-jar that are there. So huruf al-jar, just I'm saying it from a very like a bird's eye view think of huruf al-jar is they convert an ism into jar, right? That's why they're huruf al-jar. So you have this lisani, mizani and ar-rahmani because of these huruf al-jar, but at this point you don't need to know that. But that is the reason why it has an ani sound as well, but it doesn't mean that they are two. Yeah. Mizan is mizanun. Scale is one scale. What would be two scales if I were to say two scales? Mizanani, right? Mizanani. If lisanun is one tongue, if I were to say two tongues, if I want to say two tongues, lisanani, right? So this is how we make it. So even though these have an ani sound, but still they are just one because of the reason you know now. But these are two. No. So over here the thing is they have an alif and noon at the end, but that is the part of wahid ism.
Okay.
Right?
Alif and not ism.
So the original word is lisanun, right? So this alif and noon at the end is part of the ism itself. This is not an extra to convert it into musanna, right? So same for mizan and rahman, ar-rahman. So if you want to make two of this, you will do an ani. So lisanani. yeah, in that case. A mistake on my part is the ha is in Abu Huraira is with this ha. And Abi Huraira with a ha, not a ha.
So why didn't you say Abu Huraira? Why did you say Abi?
Yeah, so okay, the quick answer to that is because of the an.
Okay.
Remember I said that it converts into jar. So abu becomes abi, right?
If there is an
Whatever, if there is a harf jar, so this is something we'll look into at a later point, but for now the simple rule is if there is a harf jar and then there is something after the harf jar, it gives kasra. Okay, so that's why it's an abi, right? Ala lisani fil mizani ila, all of these are huruful jarra. We'll see about this when we get to that point, so you don't need to run in. If I were to ask you, is there a difference between is there a difference between kalimatani and kalimataini? Is there a difference in the meaning? What would your answer be? No, no, right? Muslimani, Muslimaini. Is there a difference in the meaning? No. Why?
Because Arab doesn't change the meaning.
The meaning, exactly. Arab means change in the status without changing in its meaning. The most important takeaway from this class today is, I'm repeating it again, is to identify the asma from the sound at the end, not the haraka, right? So that is the most important thing in musanna.
Look at the sound.
Sound. Ani, aini. Ani, aini means musanna. If I were to ask you about the hadith without looking into it, can you say the hadith? Whatever you remember.
And Hadith Hurairah,
Raziyallahu anhu.
سمعت
No, no. قال رسول الله صلى الله
قال
عليه
رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان على الرحمن
إلى الرحمن.
إلى الرحمن سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله.
Rawal Bukhari. Barakallahu fiqh. Memorize the hadith. Subhanallah. See, now we can see that if you know the Arabic language, it is very easy. It becomes very easy to memorize Quran and hadith, right? You know the hadith with meaning. That's important because we have a lot of hufaz, like especially with the Quran. They know the Quran, they have memorized it, but don't know the meaning, right? So you know it with meaning. So Barakallahu fiqh. I'm glad that, alhamdulillah, you're able to cover that today. Practice session, you can either do it here or take home. It's up to you. There are two things you need to do over here. The first thing is convert the following asma from wahid to musanna, right? So you have all these are wahid in rafa. I'm not asking you to write the wahid in nasbanjar because you already know that, right? You have to, first thing is to convert them into musanna, and after you do that, write the musanna form in raf, nasb and jar. So waladun, the musanna would be wala, waladani, right? And nasb and jar would be waladani, bintani, ainun, ainani, right? Ainaini, muslimun, muslimani. Simple, very simple. Just be careful with the harakat, like don't mess it up. And do you want to take it home?
Yeah.
Sure.
The question that our brother Umar asked us in last class was, are all asma or all ism, all asma that end with alif maqsura, are all of them mabni? So I looked into it and I found something new that I did not know it myself. If you don't understand this, if you don't understand whatever I'm going to say it now, Don't worry about it. But because the question was asked, I'll have to address. If you don't understand, then please don't worry. This should not discourage you from continuing to learn the Arabic language. Okay. So what I discovered is the asma that end with alif maksura, like Musa, Isa, Salma, Kubra, these are not treated as mabni. These do not fall under the category of mabni. Now the question would be why, right? Obviously. So from what I understood and what I taught was change in the, if you have an ism, let's take two examples. Right? So Muhammadun, Muhammadan, Muhammadin, right? But it would be Musa, Musa, Musa. So what we understood, like as in I understood, is change in the Arab, like they call it tagayyur, change in the last, in towards the end of the ism, the change where in whatever ism it changes, it's called as mu'rab, and the ism in which it does not change is called mabni, right? So this is what I understood and this is what I taught. But it turned out that the rules that they have set, the experts in the language, is something else in addition to that. Like for example, you have an ism, right, in which the change, the i'rab is not changing. The i'rab is not changing, right, in rafa, nasb and jar. So you cannot immediately say that it is mabni. It seems, it turned out to be like that. And again, this is from the specifics and details. They are saying that a simple way to put this is, they are saying that if the Arab is not changing, right, if the change is not there, then there are some additional rules, some 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if it falls, if any ism, it is Arab is not changing, and then those additional XYZ rules, then we call it as mabni. So it turned out that those asma that end with alif maksura do not satisfy those additional rules. Like, sorry?
So the alif maksura.
Yeah, only the alif maksura. Like what come under asma'ul mabniya are asma'ul istifham. Asma'ul istifham are those asma that are used for questioning, like lima, ma, man, who, what, why, all these. Okay, we'll study about this later. Asma'ul istifham, they fall under mabni, which means they have the same in all three, plus they satisfy those rules, XYZ rules. Then asma'ul mawsula, allazi, ha'ula'i, some of the asma'ul mawsula, not all of them. So ha'ula'i, hadha, hadhihi, they fall under mabni because they i'rab does not change and those satisfy those XYZ rules. And then asma al-dama'ir, huwa, huma, hum, we'll look at that at a later point. So they are also mabni. When it comes to alif maksura, so alif maksura, apparently it seems that it has the same i'rab, but they are saying that it has i'rab taqdiriya. That is something, as I said, complex. The i'rab is there, but you cannot see it.
Okay.
That is because of the construction of the ism. Now we are not going into that. That comes into a different topic. So they are saying that the i'rab is not changing, but it apparently it's not changing, but in a taqdiri way it is changing. Okay, so how? At this point we cannot answer that because we don't have the knowledge to explain all of that. So because of that reason, the asma that end with alif maksura, they are not mabni, rather they are mu'rab, right? Rather they are mu'rab. This was mentioned. There's a book called Alfiyatu Ibn Malik. It's an Arabic grammar book, and it was written by Ibn Malik, the great scholar of the Arabic language. And Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah has a explanation, has a sharh of this Alfiyatu Ibn Malik. Okay, Alfiyatu Ibn Malik. So Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, to put it simple, he said, because Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he has a way or a methodology to make difficult things easier for the people. Sheikh rahimahullah. So he said, don't go into too much details. Just we say mabni are those asma that the old Arabs they call them as mabni. So don't go into different rules, and mabni are those asma that the olden Arabs, whatever they call them as mabni are mabni. Whatever they call them as mu'rab are mu'rab. For ease. This is what the Sheikh said in the explanation of Alfiyatu Ibn Malik, right? So, as I said, for us, because we are a very beginner stage, um, uh, just think that the i'rab that changes, like if the ism is changing, it's mu'rab, and the ism, if it has the same i'rab in all the three different statuses, it could be mu'rab or mabni. But those that are ending on alif maksura, they are not calling it as mabni. They are not, because of some reasons which we don't know now. We can look into that at a later point. So don't worry about that. But other ism like hadha, haulai, hadhihi, and alladhina, as I said, alladhi, and the asmaul istifham, az-zamair, these are the asmaul mabniya. Okay, so don't worry too much. As I said, don't let this discourage you. It is a very big ocean, and we are just near the shore. So we are just trying to learn how to swim, and inshallah ta'ala, you will reach a point if you are consistent, if you put your effort, and inshallah ta'ala, there will, by the help and aid and the tawfiq of Allah, you will reach a point in which you will be able to understand. So, wasallallahu wasallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa